And we are here for, in the new file, a looks like there'll be a plea in that case to a driving while license suspended. And then in case number 24782 SD, we're here for a hearing on a sobriety court violation for the new charges in which she's anticipated plea to today. Is there any resolution in the sobriety court file?
Yes, Your Honor, she'll do an admission to that as well.
And it looks like, as I said, in the new file, it's going to be a driving license suspended. Is that accurate?
Yes, Your Honor.
And
no insurance will be dismissed.
the no insurance will be dismissed. All right. Ms. Naiman, have you heard what the attorneys have said the resolution of this case is?
Yes.
And is that how you wish to resolve it? You please raise your right hand. You solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you give in this matter will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
All right. Let me put your hand down. Let's start with the new file first. That's case number 25-5088 ST. In that file, you've been charged with count number 1 of operating while your license was suspended, denied, or revoked. That is a 93-day misdemeanor. And count number 2 of operating without security or insurance. That is a misdemeanor punishable by up to 1 year. It's my understanding that the people will be dismissing count number 2 and you'll be pleading guilty to the driving the license suspended. Is that accurate? We know you were on probation at the time. Were you on bond in any other file at the time of that offense? Back on the 12th of December?
No.
Did you read and sign an advice of rights form in this case? Talk about your rights to an attorney and your rights to a trial? C1. So let me go through them with you real quick.
I signed something with Rose. I'm not sure what.
Okay, all right. Do you understand that you have a right to have a jury trial in this case? And at that trial, you could call witnesses for your defense. You have the right to cross-examine all witnesses called against you, the right to testify or to remain silent and not to have that silence used against you. Also the right to be presumed innocent and to be proven guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. Do you understand those rights? Most importantly, do you understand that you do have a right to a jury trial and that by entering a guilty plea in this case, you'll be giving up that right and you won't have a trial of any kind? Other than the plea agreement, has anybody promised you anything in order to get you to plea?
No.
Has anybody threatened you in any way?
No.
And is it your own free choice to plea today?
Yes.
Are counsel aware of any other promises, threats, inducements not made part of the record?
No, Your Honor.
No, Your Honor.
Then Ms. Naiman, to the allegation that on or about December 12th, 2025 in the city of Cadillac of Wexford County, how do you plead to count number 1 of operating while your license was suspended, denied, or revoked?
Guilty.
In order to accept that plea, I must have you tell me what it is that makes you guilty. So back on December 12th, were you operating a motor vehicle in the city of Cadillac? And at the time of operating that motor vehicle, had your license been suspended, denied, or revoked? And you knew it was suspended, denied, or revoked? And did you had law enforcement interaction that day? You did not have a restricted license, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. Do counsel believe that the defendants provided a factual basis in which to accept the plea and the court rules have been complied with?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes, Your Honor.
As does the court, I find the plea is knowing, voluntary, and accurate. Ms. Naiman, I find you guilty of operating when your license was suspended, denied, or revoked. Pursuant to the plea agreement, the operating without security will be dismissed. That brings us to the sobriety court violation. In that allegation, Ms. Naiman's alleged that you drove while your license was suspended, denied, or revoked, and operating without insurance. Is the plan to plead guilty to both of those violations, counsel?
Your Honor, I'm willing to dismiss count 2 of the probation violation, considering the plea in the new case.
All right, Mr. Hartel, I assume you have no objection to that?
I do not.
Ms. Naiman, it's my understanding that you'll be pleading guilty to basically the mirror that you just pled to before of driving while your license was suspended, denied, or revoked back on the 12th of December. Is that your understanding as to how this violation will be resolved? And just so the record is clear, this would be a 4th violation for the defendant in that on August 13th of 2024, she had a driving license suspended March 25th of 25, she had a second violation of a positive remote test and a missed test. And then on September 23rd of 25, she had her third violation of a positive breath test and a missed test. Ms. Naiman, in this case, has anybody promised you anything in order to get you to plea? And is it your own free choice to plea? And has anybody threatened you in any way? Are counsel aware of any other promises, threats, or inducements in which to get the defendant to plead to the violation?
No, Your Honor.
Any objection to the court taking judicial notice of the plea that was just taken in the new file to accept a guilty plea in this case?
Non-definite offense.
I apologize, Your Honor. I was looking at something else. No, I don't object.
All right. Ms. Naiman, then to the allegation of the violation that you drove while your license was suspended, denied, or revoked on December 12th, how do you plead? The court, having heard the testimony from the defendant in the prior case regarding her operating a motor vehicle in the city of Cadillac on December 12th while her license was suspended or denied, her knowing that it was suspended, denied, or revoked, and not having a restricted license, the court does find her in violation of her sobriety court terms. So that brings us to sentencing in these cases. And I know Ms. Naiman is aware of it and Ms. Dahl is aware of it too. The sobriety court team voted as to what to do for a recommendation in this case or sanction in this case. And in her sobriety court file, the recommendation was termination. However, I still have the final say on that. So I will turn it over to Mr. Hartel. If you want to allocate in one or the other or both, I'll leave that up to you.
Thank you, Your Honor. I believe my client will have some personal statements and moments to humanize a bit more. We did discuss what would be appropriate to say between yourself and myself earlier. I would ask the court to consider continuing sobriety court. I do realize this is totality of the circumstances. It's not just what there's a finding with now, there was prior findings as well. But I know my client's going to explain a bit more detail about why she was operating the vehicle. We don't believe it rises to a legal defense or we really don't. But we do believe it wasn't just, so the court is aware, joyriding. It wasn't just out there looking at the colors of the trees or anything like that. There was at least what she felt was a noble purpose behind it, if nothing else. And I would hate to see all the work she's done, despite the hiccups, despite the rumble strips, despite the other issues, however we want to analogize them. She has taken pride in the fact that she has continued with the program. And I know she's taken it seriously. I can see it right here in all my prior communications. She's been very honest with me. I can normally tell when a client's trying to get one over on me. This wasn't one of those situations. She didn't deny what she did from the beginning with me. She just wanted to try to get to the best resolution possible. And I would ask the court to consider this being an opportunity for her to complete sobriety court. I do believe that would be appropriate. I do believe she would appreciate it. And I don't believe it would be a waste for her or society. I believe it would be overall beneficial. As far as the punishment on the new file, I'd ask the court to consider that being minimum fines and costs. I'll waive my attorney fee. I know it is a misdemeanor. It is still a criminal charge, but I ask the court to treat it as what it is, and she'll explain in more detail in a moment. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Dahl, on behalf of the people.
Your Honor, one of the things that I put in the pre-trial order is that people would not recommend jail in the new case for driving the license suspended, and I would like to abide by that. I know there's going to be a punishment in the probation violation. With regards to the new case, we're asking that, well, we're not recommending jail in that case, and we're asking for fines and costs. I don't know if probation would be beneficial considering her probation in the sobriety court case. So I'll leave it at that. With regards to sobriety court case, Your Honor, she has been in sobriety court for quite a while. I know I just joined the team, but our discussions with the team, although I'm not going to go over them, the team, I believe almost everybody, if not everybody, recommended that she be terminated from the probation. I agree with that recommendation. I asked the court to follow that. She had violated multiple times throughout her time. It wasn't just in the beginning when she was getting used to sobriety court. It's been continuous, and the latest one being September of 2025, where she had a positive breath test. And she went to jail for that. Whatever her reasoning is for driving today is no excuse. She knew what she was doing. She knew exactly what the consequences would be if she got caught, because she's already been caught driving while license suspended while in sobriety court. This is her second time doing that while in sobriety court. I think sobriety court is a very serious program, and it's voluntary, and it's something that's supposed to help encourage people to live sober and to not commit crimes. And she has not learned that in sobriety court so far. So I would ask that she be terminated from probation in that case.
Ms. Naiman, you have the right to address the court prior to sentencing. Is there anything you'd like me to know?
When I was driving in December, I had just had surgery, and something didn't go well after my surgery. And I had been in contact with my doctor and the surgery center, and they recommended that I go to the ER or an urgent care center. And I reached out to people to help me for that. And because of prior situations where I called 911 and been hung up on twice, because it's my ex-sister-in-law that works there, when I have called out for help through 911, I've been hung up on, so that is not an option for me. I was worried that I had an infection or a blood clot based on what happened after my surgery. And then when I got pulled over, I didn't go there. And then I reached out to my doctor again, and they repeatedly told me to go to the ER and the urgent care, which I did not go to until Wednesday when I had a ride.
So this happened the 12th, which was a Friday?
Yeah, and I had surgery that Monday.
And then it was the 17th before you went anywhere? So where were you stopped at?
Like when I was going through the intersection by Stable and the coffee shop, and I pulled down. So it was over by like the little neighborhoods back there behind like the car wash and the coffee shop right there.
Okay,
I'm not sure what it is.
all right, I know where you're talking about. And so when you pulled off in the neighborhood, had the officer already activated his lights?
I pulled over when he activated his lights, yeah.
Okay, but when you pulled off of Mitchell's, because what I understand is you pulled off of Mitchell Street.
Yeah, he didn't activate his lights until like if you, I think it's River Street. So like if you go all the way to where there's like a tanning salon, like strip mall right there, and then I turned right, and then he turned right, and I turned left, and he activated his lights when I was turning left, and then I stopped right there.
And what was your purpose for turning off of Mitchell Street?
To not get pulled over.
Was the officer, this was an MSP case, right? So was the trooper following you, or did you meet him?
He followed me, but he didn't turn his lights on until I was turning left.
How long had he been following you?
I didn't know that he was following me, and so.
But at some point you saw him and turned off of Mitchell Street,
Yeah,
and then you went down to what would be Farrar Street, which is the first stop sign, took a right.
Yeah.
And went a block or two and then took a left.
yeah.
And then that's when he lit you up.
Yeah.
And we know you didn't have insurance on the vehicle. Did you have tabs on the vehicle?
No, I think he wrote the ticket for no security, which I wasn't sure what that was. And I asked him, he said it was for the plate and the insurance.
All right. Anything else you want me to know?
Like regarding sobriety court, I have been putting in a lot of work, and I know that in March of 2020, 25, there was a positive breathalyzer that I was unaware of for 2 weeks. I had met with Jamie, our caseworker at the time, and she did not mention anything to me, and I did not know about it until I came to court, in which I would never, ever have a positive breathalyzer where I would not take the second test, or I wouldn't come in for a urine test or offer a blood test. So I was unable in any defense with that to do anything about. I was not drinking in March of 25. When I relapsed in September, I had like a massive amount of stuff going on. When I started sobriety court, I had a broken back from the surgery that I had had. And I was on a cane, and I was doing physical therapy and injections. And then in June of 24, when I was in sobriety court, they found a brain tumor, which I started treatment for 3 months. And then when none of the medications were working, because I was having like severe allergic reactions to them and having to do like multiple EpiPens and different things, we rescanned, and the one got smaller, and then they found another one. And because of all of the dye that was going on, I ended up with kidney stones and kidney infections. And then during one of those treatments, they found that my bilirubin was really elevated, because I have a liver disease anyways from when I was born. And then I started losing a ton of weight in January of 25 and went through multiple tests on my stomach, and they found a tumor on my liver. And then I was dealing with that for months. And then in August, I started having like a lot of pain where I couldn't swallow. And then in September, they found out that it was a tumor in my throat. And in March of 25, I had a falling out with my parents. And my mother is like my best friend. So in September, when I found out that I had done surgery, I ended up had like a nervous breakdown. And I truly believe that if I hadn't drank in September and graduated the program in October, I would be in a very different place right now. That would not be good. Because I told Judge Van Alst when I started that I would probably need the 24 months. And I know that with me going through what I was in September to December, and even now, if I would have graduated in October, I would be in a good place. And I did drive, and I am sorry. But I put in so much work. I see my therapist regularly, and I see a psychiatrist, and I do 5 breathalyzers a day, and I work 2 jobs. And I'm a single mom for 6 years, and I take really good care of my girls. And my therapist says that all the time, that she wishes you guys could see me with my girls. Because I do make good choices, and I understand that I make bad ones too, but I try really hard to be a good mom and to be a good person, and I take my sobriety seriously. I didn't join sobriety court for my driver's license. And I did relapse in September, and I have a lot of guilt over that. And I try really hard. And I just don't want it to be said that I don't do anything to better my life, because I try really hard. And I do a lot of it by myself. I would like you to consider that, because I don't get up and say a lot in sobriety court. It's very private. But we lost our house in October during sobriety court, and I didn't relapse. I found out my daughter has lupus, and I didn't relapse over that. I found out I just been through a lot, and I try really hard, and I chose every single moment of that not to relapse. In September I did, and I regret it. I mean, Rosie had a conversation before that about me being almost 500 days sober, and I told her that you can't, that's not something that can be said to me or that I keep in front of me, because I'm not gonna be the one that comes up and says that life has gotten so much easier and I feel so much better being sober, because I don't. And it's something that I struggle with every day. My life has not gotten easier, but I keep trying. And I'm gonna struggle with it every day, but I keep trying. I'm just like, you don't know that.
All right. Anything else? In case number 25-5088 ST, the court will keep this to a fines and costs only. There is a $75 crime victims' rights fund fee, $50 state minimum fee. The court will waive the fines, costs, and attorney fees. I do that because I am aware, having worked with Ms. Naiman in the sobriety court program, the struggles that she does have and that she has talked about. And I also realize that she does still owe that court some fines and costs as well. So for those reasons, I'm just going to order what I need to in that file. 0 days jail with 0 days credit. In the, oops, sorry. Turning then to case number 24782 SD, which is the sobriety court violation case. The defendant, as we've said, this is not her first violation. And I do remember, I don't necessarily remember the first violation, driving the license was suspended. I do remember the second one, as far as Ms. Naiman not having an explanation or a reason why she tested positive, but she admitted to testing positive. And then in the third violation, the one in September, which has been mentioned a couple times today, she admits that she relapsed. And if I recall correctly, it may have had something to do with getting close to the graduation date. And, you know, had she not had that violation, she would have graduated by now. The court has, when it comes to the sobriety court, only 24 months at its disposal. And while I didn't bring in the sobriety court paperwork today, if I recall correctly, her 24 months would end in April. The team had discussed what to do with Ms. Naiman, and honestly, no matter which way we looked at it, because for her first sanction, she had an essay. Her second sanction, we had increased counseling. Her third sanction was jail. There's a couple different ways that this could have gone, but either way that it went, it would not allow Ms. Naiman to be able to complete the program timely. When we get to the level that she's at with a fourth offense, it's a step downgrade or a phase downgrade. She would have to complete that and finish that phase in another phase back into phase 5. And there's just simply not enough time left in the program to do that. The court gets reluctant. I mean, we're a team for a reason, so the court gets reluctant to overstep the vote of the team. However, the court was willing to consider it had I been presented with some sort of evidence that that there truly was such a medical emergency that she had to go that day. But what I'm left with is somebody that drove themselves or attempted to drive themselves to either the ER or urgent care on the 12th of December. But yet, I understand getting scared off by the stop and law enforcement, but it's not until the 17th that she finally goes in for treatment. That's based on her testimony. That's not what I've been presented with, but that's what she says. So the court has to question how much of a medical emergency it truly was in order to cause the defendant to drive that day. And this is the second violation for driving without a license while in sobriety court. As such, the court is going to adopt the recommendation of the sobriety court team and terminate Ms. Naiman's participation in the sobriety court program. So Ms. Naiman, what the next step is that we'll have another hearing for probation to determine whether or not there is a probation violation in this case. Now, I want to be very clear, Hillary, and I mean this when I truly say it. You have made great strides through this program. I realize life is not easy. I understand that. And I understand that these seem like pretty minor things when we look at the grand picture of everything that you've been through, the strides that you've made, the number of testings you've done, the number of your counseling appointments. And remember where you were roughly 2 years ago when all this started and where you are now. I know you say, I don't live your life, so don't take it that way. I know you say that things haven't got easier, and maybe they haven't, but I can tell you from where you were then versus where you are now, you are a completely different person. And so don't let this setback set you back overall. You've been almost you've been almost 2 years sober. Don't forget that. All right. So the court will draft that necessary paperwork. We'll get it scheduled for a probation violation. Can we do that today yet? Get it scheduled?
Yeah.
All right.
Mhm.
And then Hillary, you can go out to the front window where you checked in and get your next court date. Okay. That completes the document.